Today, the chairman of one of Europe's largest banks is resigning. Why is he leaving and how will it impact the bank? Walmart appears to be entering the metaverse with plans to sell virtual products and create its own digital currency. And Tesla seeking to cut its reliance on China for a key component for batteries. Why the move and where will it source from the materials from instead? That and much more coming up on NTD Business. Good evening and welcome. I'm Evelyn Lee in for Paul. And we're starting off today with an update about one of Europe's largest banks. The chairman of Credit Suisse is stepping down. Chairman Antonio Orta Osorio is one of Europe's most reputable bankers. He is the one that previously turned around Lloyd's banking group, leading it to its first dividend payment since the 2008 financial crisis. And here's the reason for Antonio's departure. He reportedly broke COVID-19 quarantine rules because he traveled when he was supposed to be indoors. This is a bad moment for Credit Suisse. It's still recovering after losing $5.5 billion from the fall of hedge fund Archegos Capital Management. The rich got richer during the pandemic, a lot richer. Between March of 2020 and November 2021, billionaires saw their collective wealth jump from $8.6 trillion to $13.8 trillion. That's according to a new report from Oxfam. The world's 10 richest men saw their collective wealth grow $1.3 billion a day during the pandemic. That includes Tesla's Elon Musk. The tech company's stock rose about 50% in 2021 alone, making Musk the richest man in the world. And Peloton says it'll start charging hundreds of dollars of fees for its bike and treadmill. Starting January 31st, Peloton will charge an extra $250 for delivery and installation of its bike, and an additional $350 for its treadmill. Peloton says high inflation and supply chain costs are behind the price hike. The monthly subscription price for exercise classes, though, will stay at $39.99. And inflation also sent car prices to a record high. You will now pay a whopping $47,000 on average for a new vehicle. The reasons for this are ongoing supply issues and high demand, among others. And with little new car production, there aren't many used cars to sell further down the line. It could also be a ripple from the 2008 recession. Automakers built fewer cars for a few years after that. And right now, Cox Automotive also expects record prices for used cars, and they'll probably be up 28% year on year for December. So joining me now is Austin Germain. He's a general manager at Land Rover Easton over in Columbus, Ohio. It's great to see you, Austin.
Thanks for having me.
Supply and demand are arguably one of the biggest reasons for the inflated prices right now, and supply disruptions have been a big topic. But give us a quick update of things. How are you experiencing things right now? Are you slowly able to better meet demand?
Well, it's ebb and flow. We're seeing, really big changes and kind of peaks and valleys of availability of new car stock, which is affecting used car stock or pre-owned vehicles per se. But one of the biggest things that we're seeing is not a decrease in demand for pre-owned or a decrease or slowdown in the pricing uptick of pre-owned. So we thought that maybe there'd be a leveling out that's occurred, but we have yet to really see that happen.
And we actually expect the Federal Reserve to increase interest rates 3 to 4 times this year. So what do you think consumers how will they react to that?
I think it's certainly going to drive more demand, but supply being already what it is, I don't know if there could be that much more demand than what we already have. But at the same point in time, it's going to have an effect on sales. I mean, rates have been at historical lows for the last 5 years. That's been really good for the retail industry. We have yet to see what interest rates need to get to where that equilibrium is, where people, I guess, stop financing cars or stop buying new cars. But I expect to see an increase in cash usages on cars, where up until this point, a lot of people who could afford to pay cash have been financing due to the low rates.
In the light of that, when do you think will we see the prices come down again, if at all?
I think it's going to be different for every manufacturer, depending on new car supplies. I think that Hondas, Toyotas, General Motors will certainly be the first to get there, whereas some of the more niche luxury brand manufacturers, Porsche, Land Rover, Jaguar, those kind of things are going to be the last to kind of get there. Everyone's working towards it. It's a hot topic of every manufacturer meeting I've been in. Land Rover talks about it over and over again. The Land Rover's been, I guess, more adversely affected, first being with Brexit, the worries of Brexit. So that kind of had them scuttering or shuttering. And then after that with the supply chain crunch and the computer chip crunch. So, we'll see. I think it's going to be another probably 12 to 24 months of what we're seeing currently.
And what I read today, actually, the KBB says on top of supply chain disruptions, microchip shortages, we're actually feeling the ripples of the 2008 recession. So they're saying that because of that, the recession, manufacturers slowed down production years after that. So now, years down the line, we have less used cars on the market, driving up prices. So what's your take on that? Is that actually what we're experiencing? Are we experiencing the ripples? And how long do you think those prices will last for used cars?
There were a lot of things that happened in the 2008 recession. You had cash for clunkers right after that, which got rid of a lot of, arguably cars that shouldn't be on the road for safety or emissions reasons, but that got rid of a huge part of the market of lower priced, easier to afford vehicles. So you had that happen. You had manufacturers shuttling production due to obviously lower sales and lower demand. And then the just-in-time supply chain started to kind of ramp up and be the norm that we know today. I really expect the just-in-time supply to manufacturers to really take a look at that and see if that's what's needed in this environment. Some other manufacturers, such as Lexus, looked at it differently due to tsunamis and different issues they had in Japan in manufacturing. Whereas, Land Rovers, Fords, General Motors, they never really ever foresaw any disruptions in their supply chain. So I think just-in-time manufacturing may take a backseat for a few years, and stocking up on whether that be chips or electronics or glass, tires, things like that are not necessarily ever going to go out or get old. They may really stockpile those items moving forward.
Very interesting insights. Thank you so much, Austin. Thank you for coming on.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Staffing and product shortages are also taking their toll. Big companies are reducing their hours because of it. McDonald's says it cut hours by 10% because of staffing issues. Starbucks is having trouble as well. You might find reduced hours and a lack of products at some locations. And the Wall Street Journal reports the staff shortages are affecting Shake Shack and Chipotle too. Some factors behind the reduced hours include rising CCP virus cases, supply chain issues, and vaccine mandates. That's although the Supreme Court recently blocked Biden's federal vaccine mandate for large businesses. And in East Los Angeles, thousands of opened and damaged packages are scattered across railway tracks after thieves took them from trains. We hear more from NTD's John Fredericks.
Just 3.5 miles from northeast of downtown Los Angeles, railroad cars slowly move along the tracks in the neighborhood of Lincoln Heights. But what lines on the ground is shocking. Thousands upon thousands of empty and shredded boxes stolen from the cargo containers. Destroyed boxes that once contained the hopeful deliveries of snowboarding boots, various medical supplies, and even ripped open boxes of automobile oil sit within arm's reach of our television crew. One doorway to a cargo container gently hangs open with some of the contents still inside, drilled open by looters in the early hours of the morning.
They jump on these trains, these locks that these containers have are really, sometimes they're plastic seals. The locks aren't really strong, They don't care if the train's moving or not. They jump on the trains, pop the lock, and just start grabbing whatever they see.
On top of customers missing their items, neighbors in the area are also concerned about these robberies. One woman remaining anonymous and concerned for her safety shared that a local man was killed by transients responsible for the robberies just by being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Another neighbor mentioned that though crime has always been around the railroad tracks, things violently increased over the coronavirus pandemic. Witnesses in the area also stated that the demographic for the crime was broad and included women and out-of-school teenagers, all of whom conceal themselves in masks and hoodies to seal their identities. For those still awaiting packages, there might be the unfortunate chance that it has been intercepted while making its way in and out of Los Angeles.
The world's largest company, Walmart, seems to be planning a push into the metaverse. It filed new trademark applications right before the new year, planning to make and sell virtual goods, including electronics, toys, home decorations, and more. One of the applications also said Walmart will offer its own cryptocurrency and NFTs, or non-fungible tokens, to its users. Amazon making a U-turn today, saying it will continue to accept UK-issued Visa cards on its British website. Amazon originally announced it's going to stop accepting the cards starting this Wednesday. At that time, it said it was because of high transaction fees. Now, Amazon says it's working with Visa to figure out a solution. Credit card fees have been a growing source of tension between Amazon and Visa, and it's not just in the UK. Last year, Amazon started charging customers in Australia and Singapore a surcharge for using Visa credit cards. Ford's teaming up with online payment processor Stripe. The 5-year deal's aimed at boosting Ford's e-commerce strategy. The automaker will use Stripe's technology to process digital payments in North America and Europe. And Ford will also use it to route payments to the right dealer. It's one of Stripe's biggest client wins so far, and part of Ford CEO Jim Farley's plans to turn the company around. Ford hopes to start rolling out Stripe's technology in the second half of this year. And in a move that'll decrease its dependence on China, Tesla has signed a contract to get graphite from Africa. China is Tesla's biggest market and the world's largest producer of processed graphite. NTD's Faye Quarter has more.
Tesla signed a contract to get graphite from the African country of Mozambique, which would reduce Tesla's dependence on China for the mineral. Graphite is critical for the production of electric vehicle batteries.
It's extremely important. Graphite is a base material for the formation of graphene. So graphene is one of those miracle materials that promises a lot of capabilities and increase in performance of battery technology.
Rahul Harkawat is the CEO of Quantum Copper, which supplies copper components for electric vehicle batteries. Harkawat says graphite can be found in many places. However,
China controls most of the production of processed graphite. You can't use graphite straight out of the ground. It's got to be handled in a certain way. And China controls virtually all of that market right now.
Michael Strong is an executive editor at the Detroit Bureau. Strong says it may seem strange that Tesla is moving away from China, which is Tesla's largest market. He believes it's because
they don't want a replay of what happened with the semiconductor shortage, where everybody's getting all their materials from one place.
Tesla's contract is with Australia's Syrah Resources, which operates the mine in Mozambique. Tesla wants to buy 80% of the graphite from that mine starting in 2025. That would be around 8,000 tons per year. Faye Quarter, NTD News.
And there is official data from China that shows the country's economy rebounded in 2021 with its best growth in a decade. But now there are signs that momentum is slowing on weakening consumption and a property downturn. And then there's experts also questioning the data's credibility. Here's NTD's Colin Fredrickson.
The Chinese regime says China's economy grew 8.1% last year, well above its target. But quarterly GDP growth slowed down to 4%, its weakest pace since the second quarter of 2020. Experts question whether we can trust China's data.
You've got closures of ports, you've got closures of factories, you've got supply chain disruption, all sorts of things which would all point at a down economy, not an up economy.
China's economy is based on consumption, investment, and exports. Business professor Frank Xie says consumption has been weak since the pandemic started.
Many companies closing, restaurants closing, millions of business closing. Chinese consumers, people, they don't have the income, discretionary income to spend.
China economic analyst Antonio Graceffo says the zero COVID policy in China is killing its economy.
Pulling a lot of workers out of their work, right now in Xi'an and even in Shanghai now, they're having lockdowns and mass quarantines and things like this.
Starting from the Evergrande debt crisis, some experts think the real estate bubble is so huge it'll burst and affect the banks as well.
We know that the non-performing loans are increasing at the banks, the unpaid bonds are increasing now, commercial paper is going into default.
With China's real estate and other industries in decline, a widening trade surplus is becoming the main engine driving China's economy.
Because of strong demand, by other countries like US, European countries of Chinese manufactured goods.
Graceffo says China's debt is already more than 300% of GDP, so he doesn't think China's economy will recover quickly. Colin Frederickson, NTD News.
Speaking of economic concerns, China's birth rate dropped in 2021 for the 5th year in a row, hitting a new record low. China's official data shows 10.6 million babies were born in 2021. That's down 12% from the year before. The decline in birth rates could undercut the ruling party's plans to develop technology and self-sustaining economic growth based on consumer spending. Experts say the working-age population might fall to half by 2050. Authorities eased birth limits back in 2015, but couples are put off by high costs, cramped housing, and job discrimination against mothers. And still to come, NASA discovers a new planet as big as Jupiter. Who is it crediting for the new find? And a small business owner transforms her villa into a pet hotel. Despite high demand, finding employees is a struggle. That and more coming up on NTD Business.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, CEO of MyPillow. Cancel culture has not only affected myself and MyPillow, but also millions of you out there. My employees and I want to personally thank each and every one of you for all your support. At MyPillow, we have hundreds of products now, including my new slippers, bathrobes, sleepwear, and my new beds. We are offering the best products ever for the best prices ever. For example, we have the standard size MyPillows, regularly $69.98, now only $19.98 with your promo code. Or you can get custom fit with my premium queen size MyPillows, regularly $79.98, now just $29.98. Or my king size, regularly $89.98, now just $34.98. So go to mypillow.com now and use the promo code on your screen or call the 1-800 number below to receive these exclusive offers. Thank you and God bless.
Oh hey, doesn't it feel like there's communists everywhere? In fact, the Chinese Communist Party has been subverting America from every angle. So whether it's compromising our politicians, controlling Hollywood, manipulating Wall Street, or infiltrating our schools, they have stopped at nothing to take down America. And I believe that in order for us to not become like China, we need citizens who know the truth. So go on over to getepic.com, stay informed with a subscription to the Epic Times, and you will get instant access to this infographic.
Shall we begin?
People are starving, sir. They're unable to buy a simple loaf of bread. Can you make any exception to the mark 666?
None. If you don't get the mark, you don't eat. It's that simple. My goal has never changed. People will bow down to me or they will die.
A major winter storm is causing problems on the East Coast. There are thousands of flights have been canceled because of snow, ice, and freezing rain. Airlines canceled over 1,600 flights across the country today, according to FlightAware. That's on top of the more than 3,000 flights canceled nationwide Sunday. Charlotte, North Carolina was hit especially hard. 30% of all departures and arrivals have been canceled there today. If your flight is among those, listen to this. Delta, American, United, and Southwest have all announced that travelers impacted by the storm can rebook for free. And the Federal Aviation Administration has cleared some of the most popular aircraft to land where 5G signals are present. The agency cleared 2 radar altimeters used in many Boeing and Airbus jets. It comes as cell phone carriers are about to launch 5G near airports in some markets Wednesday. The FAA was so concerned that could interfere with navigation devices, it previously banned 5G near 50 airports. The new finding clears airplanes including 737s, 747s, MD-10 and 11s, A310s, A350s, and many others to make low visibility landings where 5G is present. It applies to about 45% of the commercial U.S. aircraft fleet, and clears about half the runway the FAA previously said couldn't be used for such landings. NASA is crediting so-called citizen scientists who they say helped with a huge discovery in space. This is an illustration of a new planet discovered when the agency says the scientists collaborated with professional astronomers. NASA says the planet is about the same size as Jupiter, but with about 3 times the mass. The citizen scientists were able to help NASA pin down the planet's size and mass and track it. They did this through online volunteer projects that allow anyone to look through NASA telescope data for signs of planets beyond our solar system. A Lebanese flower farm is getting inventive to survive the country's economic crisis. It's been described as one of the worst in the world in over 150 years. NTD's Andrew Thomas has the details.
Rania Yunus founded Fleur du Liban after the end of the Lebanese Civil War. From less than an acre of tulips, the farm has now grown to nearly 150 acres across 5 different locations, employing over 120 staff.
There have always been difficulties in Lebanon, like security difficulties. For example, in July's war, we threw out flowers for a month and a half. Every time there was an explosion, unfortunately for both the country and the economy, because our flowers are perishable. We're like a key indicator of the security situation of the country with these flowers.
When the financial crisis combined with the pandemic hit Lebanon, Yunus tried different solutions to keep the business alive. One solution she found was starting a subscription service. This way, people get a weekly flower bouquet delivered to their home. One person who subscribes to the weekly bouquet service is artist and filmmaker Roy Dibb. When forced back into his home by the pandemic, he started finding little things to make life indoors easier.
I've made the decision not to leave, and since I'm staying, I've decided that I need to find little details that can help me stay here. The flowers and receiving them on a weekly basis, giving them 2 hours of my day to set them in the house. The little happiness that I get from these flowers help me to go through my day and my week.
Inflation and prices of basic goods have skyrocketed in Lebanon. Many blame the political class for years of corruption and mismanagement that has failed to offer solutions to the crisis. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
A pet hotel in Iraqi Kurdistan is welcoming dogs and cats whose owners travel abroad in addition to health and grooming services. NTD's Andrew Thomas has this one too.
Welcome to Erbil's Pet Hotel. Amal Amro has transformed her villa into a hotel for cats and dogs. The feline and canine guests get a warm welcome and lots of attention.
When an animal is away from its owner, you have to deal with it in a psychological way. The place where the animals stay shouldn't be a strange place. The accommodation must be well prepared in one way or another. It has to be well equipped, so the animal won't find it weird and get upset.
Dog grooming services are also offered, and regular customers benefit from personalized treatment. Each day is filled with a routine of activities for the animals to keep them occupied until their owners come back to pick them up. But Amro is struggling to find local people who are willing to train to work with them, despite the local demand.
You could say it's a family business. It's me, my husband, and my brother working in the place. We couldn't find staff. Honestly, this is what I am struggling with. For example, I couldn't find people who are willing to do or to learn this job.
Hotel rates start at $10 per night for cats and $15 for dogs. They also have daycare services, which are charged by the hour. On average, 12 to 15 pets stay at the hotel, and cats are kept in a separate area of the villa. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
And that's the latest business updates for today. You can catch NTD Evening News with Stephania Cox at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. For NTD Business, that's all for today. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks for watching us on YouTube. Did you know YouTube only keeps selective videos on its platform? So if you want to make sure you get the full picture, just subscribe to our newsletter. Go to newsletter.ntd.com and sign up. It's free.